Hi, I'm Lee. Welcome to the channel. I hope you're having a lovely day. I'm a short, overweight, middle-aged white dude. I've got thinning brown hair, rectangular black glasses. I'm wearing a grey t-shirt and I'm sitting in my office with a couple of coloured lights behind me. And in this video, we're going to have a look at the inside experience of a Tesla Model S. So I've done part one of this series of videos, which was just an introduction and overview of the charging experience. In this video, we're actually going to have a look at the cabin of the Model S and a whole bunch of settings and how you set everything up in the 2017 Model S. The logic behind this video, which I explained in the intro, but I'll explain very quickly here, is that we were in New Zealand for a holiday. We rented a Model S while we were there. It was a 2017 model, and I was interested to see how much the Tesla had changed from the Model S 2017 model that we rented to the 2022 Model Y that we have back here in Australia. So yeah, here's the inside experience, and be sure to watch part one and part three, which will bring this whole ensemble together. Welcome to the inside of the car. So the styling is quite different from a Model 3 or the Model Y that I'm used to. I think my wife put it best where she said, this is more of a 50-year-old and up person car. Now, I'm not judging, and taste is a very personal thing, but to be honest, it's not to my taste. I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels like a more mature person's automobile, let us say. But let's go through some of the features and how stuff works and so on. So let's first look at the first thing you notice when you get in the car. Well, not the nose, but the first thing you might want to work with is the seat. So you've got three different controls for the seat. In the front, you've got your lumbar support. So you can go more or back with the lumbar support, which is just quite nice. And you get a nice little indication here on the screen showing you what's going on with the... Oh, that is good. Oh, you've got headrest lumbar support. Oh, fancy. Headrest. You can move the headrest up and down. Ooh. Okay, that is nice. That is pretty cool. Next one is to move your seat forward and back. So you can move it forward, we can move it back, we can also move it up, we can also move it down. And then the last one, the third one, is to tilt the seat back, tilt the seat forward, and that's all the controls you have of your seat. Now, you'll notice that as I was doing this on the screen, it comes up and asks us to save these settings to my profile. I don't want to save these settings, so I'm going to tap Restore, and it's going to put me back to where I was. Next thing to look at is obviously your steering wheel. You notice that the steering wheel went up there. So to adjust the steering wheel is this middle stalk. You've got three stalks on the left hand side. So I can move the steering wheel up, I can move it down, I can move it towards me, I can move it away from me. And those are the settings that you have with the steering wheel. I'll actually save that because that's quite nice. Next thing to look at is on the door here, you've got your four window controls. So you can make the windows go up, you can make the windows go down, obviously. And then in the front here, you've got your mirror controls. So on the left hand side is the left mirror, on the right hand side is the right mirror. And you can see that as I'm pushing the buttons, it's highlighting in red, so I know which one I'm adjusting. And I can use this little sort of joystick paddy thing to go left and right with all of them. And to undo, to sort of unselect, just tap one of them again and the red goes off. The center one is to fold the mirrors, so I can just push that and the mirrors will fold in. Next, you'll notice the biggest difference between a Model 3 or Model Y, which is the car that I'm used to driving compared to this S, is that you've got a dashboard in front of you. To be honest, when I was driving, and I might mention this a few times more in the video, is I thought I was really going to love having the dash, and I was going to be, I'll have to go back to my Y with just everything in the center column and go, I want a dash back. And you know what? I think having a dash is nice, and I'm going to go through some of the features here, and it is really cool to have a dash. But to be honest, I'm actually fine without it. I said this in my Model Y overview that you know, I don't mind not having a sorry, just mosquito, you are not gonna bite me. No, you're not, because you're dead. Okay, sorry. Ugh. Sorry, James, I'll clean that, don't worry. I'll that'll wipe right off. Where was I? Right, so I really thought I was going to miss... I thought I was going to really love having and I am loving having the dash. But to be honest, it's not, you know, the most important thing ever. Some really nice features that I do like about the dash. In the center, you've got your car, you know, all the stuff about your car. On the left hand side, at the moment I've got more car information. I've got my PSI, I've got my battery. I can see that the car is not sort of running, as it were. And then I've got my energy and my temperature and my time over there on the right. But you can adjust the things that are on the right or the left. So if you hold down, let's say, the dial on the steering wheel on the left, you can then change what that shows. So you can see I've got clock, media, trips, it'll show you routing stuff, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to leave that on car status. And you can do the same thing with the one on the right hand side. You can show different things. And when you actually bring up navigation, so if I just say, navigate to Leo's Pizza, for example, you can see, yes, I get the navigation over on the right hand side on the main screen, but I also get navigation on the dash, and that is super useful. I'd love to see an option on the Tesla Model Y and Model 3 where you could get not this dash, but the features of this dash as a heads-up display. That'd just be awesome. Feel free to drop that in the suggestion box if there are any Tesla employees watching this. So that's really cool. And we'll look at more of these things in the features of the dash when we get to actually driving the car. But now getting back to the sort of like the features of the car, you've then got one stalk on the right hand side. This controls your gears. So up for reverse, down for drive, push the button in for park. There's your gears. This top stalk on the left hand side is your indicator. So push up to indicate right, push down to indicate left. You've also got your windscreen wipers, and the first two are sort of like auto slow, auto high, just control and not control, and then obviously off. And then if you want to have your windscreen wipers just go by themselves, half push the button and the windscreen wipers just go by themselves. If you want your windscreen wipers to go and to actually spray some windscreen wiper fluid, push the button all the way down and that'll do that. This stalk down here, is your all of your autopilot and your adaptive cruise control settings. So to activate adaptive cruise control, you push once towards you and that'll turn on adaptive cruise control. Push twice towards you, that'll activate autopilot, and push once away from you to turn autopilot off. Now I'll do an entire autopilot video for this, but while you're here I may as well show you how this works. While you're in autopilot, if you want to go, or in adaptive cruise control, if you want to go up by 1 kilometer an hour on your speed, just flick up sort of gently and it'll go up. Flick up and hold and it will bump your speed up by 5 kilometers. Same thing with down, just flick down, slow it down, flick down all the way. It'll do that. This little dial on this will change the distance that your car will keep between cars in front of you. And as you can see, you can go all the way from 7 all the way down to a single car length in front of you. And I like to leave it on an average of 3. You do have 2 dials on either side of the steering wheel. On the left hand side, this controls the volume of your media, and also you can push it once to turn your media on. You've also got a fast forward and a rewind button for your media there. On the right hand side, on the bottom is you tap that and you can scroll through temperature, fan speed, display brightness, recent calls and contacts, all that kind of jazz. And the top one, if you hold that in, those are voice commands. So you can actually do quite a lot of things with the car with voice commands. So for example, I could hold this down and I could say, navigate to Mount Maunganui. And huzzah, I now have the navigation turned on to Mount Maunganui. You could also do things like, for example, turn on the air conditioning. And the air conditioning comes on. It's pretty nice. Speaking of the air conditioning, let's now move on to. In fact, let me just turn that off because otherwise you're not going to hear me very well. Let's move on to the main screen and look at some of the things that you can do with the main screen. So, climate control. As you can see, it's a split system. So you've got on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. And if I tap on that, it turns it on. And I'm just going to turn it off of auto. So we've got a little bit more control, so it's not blowing the microphone away. Some of the things you can do here, you've got heated seats. And at the moment, it is set to... It's got cooling seats as well. That is cool. So now that's heated seats, but if I tap cool, ooh, It's like got air conditioning coming out of the seats. I know. There's lots of cars who do this, but I'm not a car person, so this is pretty impressive. Oh, it's pretty impressive for me. Okay, so you've got cooling. Actually, that's for my wife. I should probably turn that off because that you won't be impressed. So let's just turn that. How do I? Okay, so you've got 1, 2, and 3, so you can make it bigger or smaller, but we'll just turn that off for now. You can say whether you want your condition come from above, below, straight at you. You can schedule it. You've got dog mode. You've got keep it going. You've got camp mode. So I'm going to turn the cooling on for me. I want to experience the cooling. You got biohazard mode, where there's actually a HEPA filter built somewhere into the air conditioning system where it will actually those cooling seats are nice. That is very pleasant, I must say. That is very pleasant. With your fan, you can go all the way from 1 to 11. Okay, I wonder if that's a Spinal Tap gag, because you can turn it up to 11. I bet it is. And all the Tesla nerds are like watching this going, of course it's 11. We all knew that. We knew that years ago. I know, I'm new to the game. Be nice, okay? You can schedule it. Got no idea what that means. I'm guessing you can schedule it. So that's your climate control. In terms of the other apps that are available too, if you tap on these 3 buttons here at the bottom, that brings up what apps are available. So I can tap on energy, and that will show you what's going on, but I've actually got to have done a trip. But if I go into consumption, you can see what my driving style has been like for this trip. Sort of overall, I can go to average range, and so that's all your energy stuff. You then got calendar, you've got messages, arcade, so you have some games. You don't have all the same games. So here we've got Chess 2048, Lunar Lander. See, Lunar Lander and Missile Command, we don't have that on the Model Y. Can we have that on the Model Y, please? Because that's, those are cool. Right, Toybox. For those who aren't familiar with the Toybox on the Tesla cars, so the first one is the best one. It's the fart one, so... Excuse me. I know, it's absolutely juvenile, but it's a little bit of fun, and the kids absolutely love it. So there's that. You've got romance, which will actually bring up the image of a fire, and it'll turn on the heat, because I'll turn this off pretty darn soon. So that will turn on a crackling fire, and it'll actually warm the car up. And I don't know, it's cheesy, but it's kind of cute. To get out of any of these things, normally double click, or you just sort of pull it. Oh, hello. Just turn that off. Sketchpad, which is quite nice. You've got a little sketch you can draw. You can make yourself look like you're on Mars. I'm not sure why, but great. You can turn your car into a Santa and some reindeer sleigh. And you've also got rainbow road, so it'll just show a rainbow while you're in autopilot. I don't want any of that shenanigans. You've also got a browser, so you actually have a web browser on here. Now, being a 2017 car, and this has only got, as you can see, 3G built into it, it's not super fast browsing, but there you go. You do have a browser built in. Spotify, I've found the Spotify to work just fine, which is great. In fact, so for example, I've got some of my podcasts on here, so if we just go and pop that on, there's a podcast I've been listening to. If anyone's interested in a historical podcast, The Rest is History, great podcast. But it's not just podcasts. So if I, for example, go into my playlists, you can see I've got all my music here from my Spotify account. Then Bluetooth, that is to connect your phone. So you can see that I've got my phone connected via Bluetooth, and to connect the phone, you just tap on the plus. You know how to connect a phone to things, so that's cool. I don't have to show you that. You've got radio, you've got tuning, you've got title, and you've got USB. Oh, you've got USB. So you could actually have stuff on a USB stick. I didn't know that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, that's nice. I like that. And that makes sense when you didn't have Netflix and all those other, like for example on the Model Ys, the Model 3s, and I presume that probably the modern Model S's, up-to-date ones, you've got Netflix, Disney Plus, YouTube. there's plenty of stuff, so we wouldn't need that anyway. Now, let's have a look at the actual car settings. So to get to all of the car settings, you tap on the little car in the bottom right hand corner. First one is we've got controls here. So this controls our exterior lights. You can have them, bright, whatever. Just set them to auto. I reckon that's the best way to go. You can fold your mirrors from here. You can open up your front. You can lock the car. You can open up your trunk. You can open up your charge port, which is very easy. And one of the cool things is when you actually tap on open, you get a little image. It shows you that the trunk is open, which is pretty cool. Let's just close that. I'm not going to show you opening the front because I can't close that from here. I've got to physically go out there and close it. So, you've seen me do it. It's fine. Now, you can also change the brightness of the screen. Once again, I just leave that on auto and let the car work that out for me, and I've never had any issues with that. Pedals and steering. So you've got chill and standard with your acceleration. So standard acceleration will just, the car works like it works. Chill means that when you put your foot down on the accelerator, the car won't quite as much as it normally would with when you got it set to standard. Comfort, standard, or sport in your steering modes. Comfort, I drive like a little old lady, so I'm perfectly fine with comfort. Sport, as I understand it, will make the car more responsive. You turn a little bit. You don't have to turn quite. I have to turn sort of that much to turn that much. Whereas with sport, you just turn that much and you turn a bit more. So got a bit more control. Regenerative braking. Now this is for those who are used to Model 3s and Model Ys. This is your one pedal driving. So it's low or standard. So if you don't like one pedal driving, set it to low. You've also got this option for creep, which means it'll drive more like a standard automatic petrol car, where the car will actually creep forward once you take your foot off the brake. Something that I've noticed though with this car is, so in my Model Y, when I take my foot completely off the brake and I've come to a stop, the car will stop and it'll hold its position. I found with this car, I do have to push the brake down sometimes. Like if you're just like if you're on a straight, you're fine. But if you're on, no, you can park, thank you very much. If you're on a straight, that's fine. But if you're on an uphill or a downhill, you definitely want to push the brake down and you have to push it all the way down. Then you can lift your foot and the car stays still, but it won't stay still just by taking your foot off the accelerator. Now, I don't know if that's this particular Model S or it's, all the models from 2017 did this. So maybe someone can tell me in the comments which was which. You've got slip start. Try and say that once fast. Used to help free vehicles stuck in snow, sand or mud. Well, sand or mud could happen. Not a lot of snow in Australia. We do have some, but not a lot. Now range mode, I actually don't know what that is. Let's tap on the eye and see what it does. Range mode will save energy by reducing climate control, power, heating or cooling the cabin, made maybe less effective. Okay, so you've got this. So if you're, really, it's interesting that that's there and that's not, or to my, if memory serves, I don't think I've seen that in the Model Y. And I think that could be something as simple as people are becoming more confident with electric cars and we're not as nervous about running out of juice and running out of range. So it's interesting. Next one is charging. So here you can open up your charge port. You can set your charge limit. You can schedule charging. Now you'll see here that the supercharging doesn't cost this car anything because when this car came, it has free supercharging for life, which is, nice. Yeah, and so the other thing is you'll notice here that the charge limit is set to 80%, and that's because this car has one of the more traditional batteries that most electric cars have got. My Tesla Model Y has got an LFP battery. I believe LFP stands for long, fun, poopy. That's the technical term, I believe. I have no idea what it stands for. But LFP batteries, the manual tells me I can charge it up to 100% whenever I like. But with this car, normally just charges up to 80 to maintain the battery. And then if you're going on a trip, as you can see there at the high end, you set it to 100 because you need that for a particular trip. Autopilot. Now, again, this car's got full autopilot, all the autopilot stuff. So for all of this stuff, I'd have to pay 10 grand in Australia or 5,100 for enhanced autopilot. But you've got auto steer, you've got navigate on auto. I'm not going to go through this because I'm going to do a separate video on all of this anyway. Your vehicle settings, so You can walk away and doors will lock. This is actually really cool. I really enjoy that. Auto present handles, that's where you walk up and the handles just open up. I'm easily impressed, but I think that's so cool. Unlock on park, so when you park, the doors unlock automatically. You have child protection lock, driver unlock mode, so with that, only the driver's door will unlock automatically. You will get notifications through the app if you've left the car door or the windows open. So that's handy, and it's nice that you can exclude that if you're home, because it doesn't. Although, if you leave the windows open at home and it rains, it's still going to rain inside your car. So, right. So, mirror tilt. So that will tilt the mirrors when you reverse. And one thing I've noticed is that with the mirrors tilting, so when you put the car into reverse, the mirrors will tilt down slightly, so you can see the curbs. The mirrors definitely don't tilt down as much as they do on my Tesla Model Y. So that's something that I noticed. Mirror auto fold, so when the car locks, folds. Auto wipers, fairly self-explanatory. You can work it out. Headlights, so again, I leave that on auto. Dome lights, I'll leave those. My wife always leaves them on. I prefer leaving them off because I don't like to open my car door and suddenly, everyone can see at night. But there you go. Auto high beam, headlights after exit. Display. Now we'll go through all this. So you've got appearance, so you can have it in dark mode, but leave it on auto and it will automatically adjust depending on the ambient light around. I think it's ambient light around you all the time of day. I'm not sure which that is. Screen clean mode is actually really useful. So this is a touch screen, obviously, and one of the challenges with that is it gets fingerprints all over it, so you want to clean it. But if you take out your little cloth and you start trying to clean it, you can see I just turned energy saver on, so you could touch a button. So what you do is you tap on screen clean mode, it locks the screen, and then you can go in and clean it to your heart's content. And it takes a lot to content my heart when cleaning a screen, but that'll do for the purposes of this video. And then you just hold that, wait for 3 seconds, and you've cleaned your screen. Of course, that little bit where I put my finger has made it a little bit dirty, so I do have to still wipe that. And you might say, well, that's a bit pedantic, but I'm pedantic, what can I say? You've got your languages, your voice recognition languages, all that sort of stuff. One thing that took me a while to find, so on my Tesla Model, bring that back. On my Tesla Model Y, when I'm in charging, if I want to see my battery percentage represented as how many kilometers I've got left to drive with the battery, I just tap on the percentage and that will change from percentage to kilometers remaining, and the same thing happens in the app, but it doesn't, as you can see, happen here. So what you need to do is go into display, scroll all the way down, and where it says distance, it says energy display, you can change it from percentage to distance. And so that really sort of threw me and sort of frustrated me a bit, but I prefer having percentage, because I find when driving an electric car, if you know how many kilometers you've got left, it can cause some anxiety. Whereas if you just see a percentage, for your mental health, I've found it better to just have it on percentage. Do what works for you, but that's what works for me. Trips, this will show you, your trip thing, how many kilometers you did, all that kind of jazz. Navigation, you can turn voice navigation on, so it'll tell you turn left, turn right. I prefer not to have that, so I'm just going to turn that off. Automatic navigation, that will allow you to route home. Or the really cool thing I like about automatic navigation is because the car synchronizes with your calendar on your phone or your computer, if you've got an appointment set for, I need to go to the doctor, but you've got the address of the doctor in the calendar appointment, you sit down in the car's, next appointment is 15 minutes away or whatever, it'll just put the navigation on for you, which is, it's little things, but it just saves me the hassle of finding the address or typing it in. It's just there. So anything that can make life that little bit easier, I appreciate those sorts of things. It'll add supercharger stops if necessary. You got optimal routes, save, avoid tolls. I mean, this is all fairly self-explanatory. Safety features, all very important. So allow mobile access, so that means you can access the car and control it and whatnot from the mobile app, which is very useful. you can set a speed limit, so the car just cannot go faster than a particular speed. I leave this off, not because I'm particularly speeding. In fact, I think quite a lot of people got annoyed with me driving down here from Auckland because I have the nerve of driving to the speed limit. They find that quite frustrating. And I wasn't in the right-hand lane. I was in the slow lane, just although a lot of these roads, it is just one lane. But the limit's the limit. I know. Anyway, that's me. But I do leave this off because what if there's an emergency and I have to just quickly put my foot down to get around something or away from something, and so the paranoid side of me, the worrier, leaves that off just in case I need it. Sentry mode, that is using all the cameras, and you know that the sentry mode is on because that little red dot is switched on. So if I tap that, that'll switch sentry mode off. And that means all the cameras are active around the car, so when you're not in the car, if anyone walks up to it or anything like that, it'll record that, but also while you're driving, it'll keep track of anything that's going on around you, which is really, really useful. Dash cam, you can turn the dash cam off. I prefer to leave it just on auto, but also on honk, because generally if something were to happen while you're driving, you're probably going to honk, and then it definitely saves it onto dashcam. You can format the USB drive, but don't unless you're running out of space. Passenger front airbag, you can have those. I don't know why you'd have the option to switch that off, but okay, you can switch that off. Park assist chime, so that's while you're trying to park, it'll beep 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 beep, so you know you're not going to hit anything. Joe mode, I love Joe mode, I must say. So the story goes, and I don't know if this is true, if it's an urban legend, but apparently there was a Tesla driver called Joe who wrote to the company and said, hey, would it be possible to turn down all the beeps and the bops and the chimes of the car, because sometimes my baby's in the back trying to have a sleep, and if I'm like ding 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 ding, or even just the indicator is going, it'd be nice if it's just like a couple of decibels lower. And so they introduced Joe mode, so you can actually reduces the volume of car chimes, and so they're still there, but they don't wake up passengers in the rear seat, for example, Joe's kids, which it's a cute little, it's nice to have, and it's a cute little story. You got passive entry, pin to drive, pin for your glove box, cabin overheat protection. I think that's really useful. So what that does is, if the internal, you've parked the car somewhere, it's really hot, and if the inside of the car goes above 40 degrees Celsius while parked for up to 12 hours after you leave, it'll automatically turn on the air conditioning and cool the car down. But they won't operate if the battery is less than 20%, so it won't use up your battery if it's a bit low. Service, you can do service stuff. Software, this is where you come in to update your software, and you can have it either set to standard or advanced. So standard, you'll get your software updates when you get them, and advanced, you'll get your software updates as soon as they're available. Now, this is one of the features that I think it's one of the best features about Tesla, because this is a 2017 car. So this is a 5, almost 6-year-old car, and yet the UI is the same as my 2022 Tesla Model Y. It doesn't have all the same features, but it's got, in fact, I downloaded the manual for this car just to check a few details and make sure I was saying the right things with a few things. I didn't read all of it, so I'm probably saying some of the things wrong, but I tried. And it was so funny looking at the UI in the manual, because the manual hasn't been updated, and the UI of the manual looked so different. Like the software, like all this car stuff looked so different in the manual, because that was the software that they used 5 years ago. So I really appreciate the fact that Teslas get updated with the software. So even though your hardware might not be the latest and the greatest, you're still getting a lot of advantages of the software that's available to you in the Tesla models, well, all the models really. Another one of those just little things that I like about the UI of the Tesla system is, so for example, if I tap on navigate and then I tap on charging and then I activate all of these things, this shows me a whole bunch of chargers that are around me and the distance to them. Now, if I just tap on the 3 electricity lightning bolt thingies, that just shows me the Tesla superchargers, but then I can see fast chargers as well, and then I can see slower AC chargers as well. Now this doesn't show you everything. I still recommend using PlugShare because there's lots that aren't in the system, but it's a nice little touch that's just into the system. And then if you go even further and then just tap on one of the superchargers, one of the nice things with the superchargers, because it all integrates, is that it actually shows you that this one in Sylvia Park has got 6 stalls. They're 130 kilowatt max. 3 stalls are available, so 3 are taken up. Shows me the distance, and I believe, see, the one in Australia, or maybe it's just because this is an older car, it'll actually show you what times it's most busy. I'm not sure how to get to that option on this one, or maybe that option isn't available on here. And also it gives you an exact idea, so it goes, go up the ramp to level 5, sorry, go up the ramp to level 3 in car park 5. So again, just little things like that. I really like that it's sort of, it's integrated, and it just makes life easier, you know. In regards to the storage that you have in the center console, you've got this area here, which is quite deep. As you can see, my hand goes quite a fair bit into it. Also, you have this whole section here for water bottles, and what's nice is it's got these sort of slidey things in, but it's got the grooves on the side, so you can make it bigger or smaller depending on the size of the water bottle or whatever bottle that you're storing in there. And past that, there's actually quite a lot of space that goes quite deep into there. In fact, it's so deep that you can even put an entire bag of fudge and an entire Whittaker's chocolate all the way in there, and your wife has no idea that those are in the car. Don't ask me how I know. And then to close that, just tap on that and that'll close down. Then you have this little area down here where you've got a little lightning port there to charge a Apple phone. You have 2 USB-A ports, a 12-volt battery port, and then this doesn't come included with all of the Model S's, just the ones that I'm driving in. But then this is the cool little sunglass attachment. It's for my sunnies, so they just attach to my glasses, and my glasses become sunnies. If you want to know more about those, I'm thinking of doing an actual video review because I covered these a little bit in my accessories video, so go check that out, and then I might do an individual review if I get enough comments saying they'd like to see that. The final bit with the storage in the front here is just these 2 cup holders there, and that is the storage in the 2017 Model S. Oh, 2 other things. You've got a physical button over here for the hazard lights, so you can put them on just with that button there. You can activate these lights just by pushing them in, and turn them off by pushing them off. Interestingly enough, the visor for the passenger does not have a mirror, but the visor for the driver does have a mirror. I won't tell you the inappropriate thing that my brother and I were talking about with that, but macabre, so you can guess. And this, for all you Tesla Model Y and Tesla Model 3 owners, this button here opens your glove compartment with a button, because on the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y there's a button inside the UI, not a physical button. So, you know, I don't know if the extra cost of a Model S is worth a button for the glove compartment, but you've got one. Also something that Model 3 and Model Y drivers wouldn't be used to is actual door handles. So here is an actual door handle to close the door. So that is a look at all the inside bits of the Tesla Model S 2017. Let's go jump in the back and see what's going on there. Welcome to the back seat of the Tesla Model Y. Now, I can't show you how I fit in here with the child seat in the way, and I just can't get this in and out in the time that we have. So unfortunately, I'm just going to have to show you with the child seat here. So if I were to try and fit myself into the child seat, you can see it fits a half-grown man. It fits a half-grown man in a child seat, no problem. In the center seat, if the child seat isn't here, you can't really get in too comfortably, but if it wasn't, you could. You can see also in the back you've got 2 USB-A ports, you've got center air vents here to change the air vents, and you've got a sneaky little thing here where it's got 2 little cup holders. It's pretty much the back seat, loads of space, but I'm all of 5 foot nothing, so, you know, take it as he is. Let's go check out the rest of the car. Well, I hope that look at the cabin and the setup features of the Tesla Model S 2017 has been helpful to you. Please be sure to go check out part 1 and part 3 of this video so you can get the whole overview feel of the overview. Yeah, I hope that was helpful to you. I hope you learned a bit. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have subscribed already, thank you so much for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one. Safe and happy driving. Vertical thing, so portrait, landscape, portrait. In a portrait layout, this is a much bigger screen. Now it is a little bit slower, and I'll get into the screen a little bit later. That's going on, mosquito. Off. If you bite me, there will be trouble. So you better get to the, yeah, okay. Welcome to the inside of the car. Did I push record? Who knows?